I am a stubborn American. I didn't always think that I was this stubborn American. Actually, when I was a kid and growing up and in my young adult life, I thought I was pretty mellow, pretty chill, you know, not really making any waves compared to a lot of the other people that are around me. I thought I was doing all right. That is until I moved to Japan. That is when I started to really feel like a cowboy. Like really rough around the edges. Like, hey man, a lot of people really don't think the way I think. I always felt that way back when I lived in Kentucky, but now I feel like that even more so. It's really hard to find people that have a lot in common with me. One of the reasons why I kind of say this is because of the way pre-orders are handled out here in Japan. They're all done by lottery. I hate this. I hate this so much. It is so irritating to me because the premise is this. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how hard you want to work for it. It doesn't even matter how bad you want it. We're all going to be put into a lottery and our names are going to be pulled at random. So I have the exact same chance. I'm the guy who buys every single first-party published Nintendo title and more for the Nintendo Switch and the Wii U. I am extremely dedicated to this. I would argue that probably 80%, if not 85% of my leisure spending money is on Nintendo. It's not on anything else. Whereas other people have PC computer parts and PlayStations and Xbox. I mean, I have a PS5 as well, but I may buy one game a year if I'm lucky on that thing. Really, it's dedicated to a few select titles. Like, I did not get a PS5 until Resident Evil 4 Remake was announced, to give you an idea. But I have the same chances of getting a Nintendo Switch 2 out here as somebody that only plays Minecraft and Fortnite on it. I mean, if I were Nintendo, I would rather a fan like me have it versus somebody that maybe is only going to play 2, 3, 4, 5 games on it in the entire generation. Because that person is not going to go to a midnight release. They are not going to go through the hell that was buying them online. They aren't going to work that hard. Only those of us that are really dedicated are going to actually try to get this thing right now. I mean, they'll get it whenever they get it, whenever I see it on the store shelves, right? But this lottery thing, man, it just, I don't know. I just hate it. I really don't like it. It's sort of this, well, it's really nobody's fault, that you didn't get one kind of thing, right? Where it's like, I don't know. There's such a different perspective out here to that stuff. Like for me, like in America, I'm used to the first come, first serve. You got to work for what you want. If you want a Nintendo Switch, you can get one, but you're going to have to really work for it. It ain't going to just come to you easy. Whereas out here, it's like, we don't want anyone's feelings to get hurt. We would rather it be random. I hate gambling. I do not gamble. I don't like casinos. I don't like gambling on cards with buddies. Not into that. I just don't like the idea of potentially losing my money just because. I just don't like that. Also, this is probably the same reason that I hate the idea of just not getting a Nintendo Switch just because. It's like, oh, you may or may not get the system, just like a roll of the dice. It's like, no, I hate that. So what I've decided to do is get an American console. That's pretty much what I decided to do. Give you a little bit of background for my Nintendo Switch 1 pre-order story. I was stationed at Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam at the time, and similar to this launch, there were rumors going around as to when the Nintendo Switch was going to allow pre-orders to happen. Every morning when I would get into the office, this is Hawaiian Standard Time. This is not Eastern Time, obviously. We're way ahead. I mean, we were literally the last people to get New Year's every single year. It was kind of weird. I go on my Instagram stories, and it's like, oh, look at all these people celebrating New Year's around the world. And it's like, we still got another 5 hours until the New Year. It's weird. But because of that, a lot of news would come late, so I would really have to check it first thing in the morning when I would wake up, because if pre-orders were going to go live that day, I needed to know by the time I got to the office. So I get to the office at about 7:30, log into my computer, get everything set up, and the very first thing I do is go on Google and type in Nintendo Switch news. What's the headlines? What's going on? And then boom, sure enough, one day it was like pre-orders are going live at this day at this time. I think I had about 2 days notice on that. And so, or maybe I had a week. I can't remember. But I had a little bit of time because I called GameStop at the end of the day and I said, hey, you guys doing this? They said, yes, we are. And I was like, what time are you guys doing it? And weirdly enough, they were doing it at like noon on a weekday, which was strange. It wasn't like, oh, midnight like this one, just the Switch 2. It wasn't like that. It was like noon for some reason. GameStop was doing it. So I was like, okay, that's cool, fine. So they were like, it's first come, first serve, so just get here when you can. Now, unfortunately, I was working that day, and at least with the way my office worked, I could not submit leave that quickly. If I'd had probably a week or two notice, I would have put in for that day off, and I would have sat out front until the time. But I was going to have to settle for a lunch break. So I told my supervisor, hey, I got something really important I want to do on my lunch break. She was really cool about it, said no problem. And so on my lunch break, I went there, and I was lucky enough to get a pre-order. However, at that time, the Wii U was the main home console, and a lot of people did not like it. And I can remember people actually thinking, the Switch, whatever, that may or may not be good. I don't really know. And it wasn't until that it came out that I think people really changed their opinion on it. So I got my pre-order, and everything was fine. Made some sacrifices, sacrificed a lunch hour and went out and got that done. And, I checked the news constantly. I was working to get what I wanted. I can't do that out here for some reason. Everything's a lottery. Not to mention that the only way I can get a region-free Nintendo Switch so that I can even access my American account is to get it only from the My Nintendo store out here. I have, as of right now, yet to have received my email from Nintendo, My Nintendo of Japan. Have not heard from them. We check it every day. So I was like, well, if I know Japan well enough, and I do, they're probably not going to have enough units. And then Furukawa-san confirmed that with that tweet that he put out literally the day before American pre-orders went live. So I was like, okay, I think I'm just going to go all in. I'm going to have some family back home help me, and then that way I can just get an American unit shipped to me out here in Japan. It's going to be way more expensive. Like, I'm going to end up spending a lot more money on this console. But if I want it in or around launch time, this is just what I'm going to have to do. And I was like, you know what? It's fine. I don't splurge a lot on stuff for myself. I've been working pretty hard the last year. Haven't really taken a lot of crazy trips, like little weekends here and there, but I have not even left Kyushu in 3 years. So I was like, I want to do this, let's do it. So this is basically my Switch 2 pre-order experience. Very different from the Switch 1 experience, which was very easy. Now, if I could have chosen any way to do this, I would have just camped out at a GameStop. That's literally what I would have done. I would have had a buddy of mine come by and maybe hang out with me, and maybe we would have both gotten Switches. I don't know. But I would have just camped out at GameStop, made a night of it, because I've done that before, brought some fold-up chairs, just kind of hung out, had some fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, guarantee that you're going to get one. Not relying on the internet. However, being in Japan, I'm not going to fly all the way to America just to stand outside of a GameStop. So I was like, I am really going to only focus on one website. A lot of people, I think, are going to do multiple sites, have a whole bunch of tabs open. And I was like, I don't think that's going to work. I'm just going to focus on one website. Which one am I going with? My options at the time were Target, Walmart, and Best Buy. GameStop was going to open up later that day, I think 11 a.m. Eastern time. So that was like roughly 12 hours later. But I was like, you know what? I am very loyal to Best Buy. I bought like all my Blu-rays through them. I love their when they used to sell the steel books. I bought a lot of stuff through them. They have never let me down, knock on wood. They've never canceled a pre-order. Like they've never, lost a shipment. Like they've been very consistent with me, and I trust them, and I will continue to give them my business. So I said, I'm going all in on that. Logged in on the app on my phone. I had to re-download it, of course, because I didn't have it anymore. Logged in on my phone, logged in on my computer, and I took my lunchtime around the same time that the website was going to go. Obviously, anybody that did this knows that Best Buy did not go live until about, 35, 40 minutes into the craziness? Because I kept checking Wario64's Twitter feed and just being like, okay, what's going on? And they're like, okay, Target's live, Walmart's live. And I'm not going to lie, I opened a Walmart tab and I tried to do that stupid little push to pretend you're human thing, which didn't work for me or apparently anybody else. I don't know. I still have yet to have heard a story that worked for somebody. So I said, you know what? Close all these tabs. Best Buy, I'm loyal to you. I'm not gonna start, whatever, going crazy here. I had successfully eventually put one into my cart on both the phone and the computer. And then eventually the one on the computer popped and it said, hey, here you are. You're ready to go. I already had all my financial stuff set up and ready to go, but then the bank kicked it back and it said, denied. Your card has been declined. It does not authorize the purchase. Which I was like, oh boy, here we go. Luckily though, the credit card that I was using was really solid and sent me a text message and was like, hey, did you try to buy something just now? Is this you? And I said, yes, it is. And they said, okay, go ahead and do it again. I clicked the again button with about 8 minutes and 30 seconds left on my time with Best Buy. And sure enough, she went through. Switch to pre-ordered. I got the confirmation email. It's in my orders tab. They took the money out of my account, and I am, as of right now, still good to go. I think if a week goes by and they have not canceled my order, then I'm pretty much guaranteed to get it. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I kind of crapped my pants a little bit because I realized that I had set it for in-store pickup. The reason for this is that I wanted to send it to my mother's house. However, her UPS driver is a little shady. I've had some problems sending things to them in the past. Also, I've had things go missing off the porch before. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do in-store pickup. She's like 30 minutes away. It's not a big deal. She even said I can drive over there and pick it up if you want. I'm just going to do in-store pickup. Then I thought to myself, well, wait a minute. I'm not going to be there to pick it up. They're not just going to give this to some random lady that's claiming to be my mother. But then luckily I Googled it, looked it up, and Best Buy says you have authorized pickup people. I put in her name, her phone number, her email address, and some other piece of information, maybe a birth date or something, I can't remember. But 4 identifying things that all matched up with her. They will email her when it's ready, and she will pick it up. I did not at the time attach a physical copy of Mario Kart World because I had heard a lot of people saying that screws up your shopping cart. Because if you've got people were saying, well, if you put in the console and a game and the Pro Controller and the camera and a carrying case, if one of those items is out of stock, it cancels the whole order. So you could lose the console, because they didn't have a bag, a $25 bag. So I said, no. I'm just going to get only the console. Once that's locked in, later on, I'll pre-order other things. And sure enough, that's what I did. About 5 hours later, when the whole website had calmed down, I calmly went to Best Buy, pre-ordered a copy of Mario Kart World for pickup at the same location at the same time. They'll both be together with, just separate order numbers. So I lucked out. It worked out very, very well for me. I'm very pleased with it. It's kind of strange, though. I got to be honest with you. I'm a little curious as to why everyone was freaking out. I kind of was like, you know what? I'm going to go real zen with this. If I get one, I get one. And if I don't, then I will eventually get one. Because my name is still in the hat for the My Nintendo store in Japan. And my name is still in the hat for the My Nintendo store in America. And even if those both fail, then in a couple months, they will be more easy to find. This is not life or death. Let's just calm. And then when I got one, I was like, sweet. I was excited and I felt happy. I was like, great. That's a thing that I don't have to, think about anymore. Great deal. Good deal. But I was shocked to see how many people, YouTubers that I was watching, they were like, I'm so pissed off. I'm so mad. This was a disgrace. I can't believe they made me do that. But I got a Switch too. I got a pre-order. It's like, well, then what are you complaining about? You got the pre-order. Was it hard? Yeah, you worked for it and you got it. What's the big deal? It's just so funny to me. It's like, why are you crying? Like, I don't know. For me, that's part of the whole clickbait thing. It's just being like, Nintendo, this is unacceptable. I can't believe you made me do this. And it's like, I don't think it's Nintendo's fault that the Target website is garbage. Like, that's just not in their jurisdiction, right? Like, Nintendo of Japan has no control over that. I'm sure that the marketing folks at Nintendo of America could possibly help, but I mean, you can make a suggestion, but what else can you really do here? But I just was surprised. I was surprised to see how many people were so upset and just insulted. I can't believe that they made me sit on the computer for an hour to get this thing. But they're like, because at the end of these videos, I expect them to say, and I didn't get one, Nintendo. I wasted an hour and I didn't get jack for it. And it's like, they're always like, yeah, but I got one. I got two. You're just like, well, then what is this? What's the problem? I don't know. That's where I feel like an alien sometimes, right? Going back to me feeling like a weirdo, not like normal everybody else. However, speaking of the pre-order process, I would like to submit to you my pitch for how Nintendo and even maybe other video game companies should do pre-orders in the future, right? I noticed the discourse around the Nintendo Switch 2 was very negative when they announced it. Everybody saw the prices and they were like, oh, I'm not paying no $450 or $500 for this console. Nintendo's crazy if they think I'm spending that much money. You must think I'm crazy if you think I'm going to spend $80 on Mario Kart World. And then they crash this Target store. Then the Target store crashes and Walmart goes down. It's just like, dude, clearly y'all are lying. You're full of it here. Because what did they say? Like 2.2 million people requested it on My Nintendo in Japan alone. It's like, come on, dude. Come on now. You guys want it. Stop lying. You ain't that cool. But anyway, anybody listening to this that's a Nintendo fan, you know you want the next console. Even after the Switch 2, think about whatever the next Nintendo console is going to be. I know that's hard to think about because we don't even have the Switch 2 yet, but for you hardcore Nintendo fans like me out there, you already know you're going to want the next console, and probably the console after that. If the software keeps coming as strong as it did on the Switch 1, I'm going to want every Nintendo console at launch going forward. With that being said, because I'm the only guy that's going to admit that, right? Everybody else is going to say, well, it depends. It depends on how much they cost me, and it depends on this, and it depends on that. And it's like, no, it really doesn't. You're going to buy it anyway. It doesn't matter. Stop acting tough. I'm over here telling you the truth. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it. So here's my future idea for what Nintendo should do. Nintendo roughly knows when their generation is going to come to an end, right? So I would say about a year before the next console is announced. So for us now, it would have, if you were going to do this for the Switch 2, you would have done this back in June of 2024. And all you do is you send a little message to people's like My Nintendo account, like on their Switch, and just say, hey, we see you're playing a lot of games. You really like our console, and we thank you for choosing Nintendo. We just want to give you a special offer and let you know that our next console is coming out sometime next year. And if you give us your name, and maybe email and information right now, you are guaranteed a copy, or you are guaranteed a console on launch day. So that way, like, let's say those 2.2 million people that were playing the Switch last year all sent an email. That means Nintendo has 1 year to make all those consoles because they're guaranteed sales, right? It's like, well, we know these people have reserved it a year in advance. And it's like, yeah, but they may not know what the console is. And it's like, well, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't really matter. You make the amount of units that people are interested in. People say, well, a lot can happen in a year. Things in the economy might change. People might not want to buy it, this and that and the other. But it's like, dude, but they said that about the Switch too. They said that the tariffs and the current economy was going to put a halt to the success of the Switch 2. And it's outdone the Switch 1 already, like with pre-orders and sales, like compared to the Switch 1. So I'm thinking, this is an upward trajectory, right? Like until the trend starts to go down, you got to ride with it. So I just would say, hey, to you super fans out there that have played over a certain amount of hours and you own over a certain amount of titles, and maybe you have to have been a Nintendo Switch online subscriber for, I don't know, over 2 years. I saw mine the other day. It said like 6 years, 7 months, and like 14 days or something like that. I've been a subscriber since they started the service because I wanted to play Splatoon 2, and I liked the retro consoles that came along with it, and the cloud saves. Like those are my main reasons. But yeah, that way it's like, hey, you're locked in. I've got a unit. I don't have to do anything crazy. You're giving it out to people that play your games, that is your hardcore fan base, and you're going to make them happy because they're not going to have to sweat. They're not going to have to worry about it, right? They're not going to have to elbow grandma, on Best Buy's website to beat her to, get a copy of the console that, they're actually going to play. But then what you could do is you could say, hey, we're going to do an announcement for the console. And then directly after that, we are going to open pre-orders for 1 month for the people that have sent us their information. So let's say, I don't know what, 1.5 million people sent their information last year. You guys have the first month to get in your pre-orders. Pay for this. I want this accessory. I want this game. Tailor it to 100% of what you want. After that, then it opens up to the general public. That's when the Targets and the Walmarts and the craziness happens, right? And then after that, then the launch. I think that launching in 2 months after an announcement is a little too short of time. I think they're trying to ride Apple's coattails with this, but dude, you are not Apple. You are. I know you're a $1 billion corporation, but not that many billions. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you quite have the resources to do that. So I wish that there were just 3 different like tier levels of ability to get pre-orders through Nintendo. Like, you've got the platinum diamond tier, which is like the people that are hardcore like myself and people listen to this podcast. You've got like the regular people that they're willing to kind of fight and scrap on Best Buy, because some people just like doing that. And then you'll have the people that'll wait till it's physically in the store to just buy it, right? But I think that would be the best way to do this. I think even a lot of people that depend on owning a Switch 2 for their jobs, this would really alleviate their stress quite a bit. I know a lot of YouTubers and, tech gurus and stuff like that. They were really stressing about this because it's like, dude, I need a Switch day one to make a video about. I got to make a video. This is my job. This is what I do for a living. I got to have games to play. I've got to have the console to review. Like, if I can't get one for like 3 months, it's like, that's going to hurt my business. And so that would be a perfect person that has played enough of the titles, that streams online, that should just get an easy checkout process, that just does not have to worry about it. I think for us as customers, we have spent enough money on Nintendo to have earned that privilege to be able to not have to sweat a pre-order process, right? I mean, that's my 2 cents. Take it any way you want. I'm sure some people will poke a bunch of holes in that idea, but I think that that's really the only solution to this problem. That's really the only way you could do it. And when they would send out, what Nintendo would do is they'd say, hey, we're going to have like 10 groups, right? And for this whole month, we're going to go down the list. So group 1, you're going to get invites first. You'll get an email saying you're in this group. So from this date to this date, you can check out. Usually you give people maybe 4 or 5 days. Each group gets 4 or 5 days or something like that. Or maybe, 3 or 4 days. I don't know. You have to divide 10 by 30 to get that, which is 3. So 3 days. Everybody gets 72 hours to check out. I don't know. I think that'd be great. Because then it would be a separate site. So you would type in the site or click the link in the email that Nintendo sends you. It takes you it does not take you to Nintendo's website. It takes you maybe to, like if they made a site for this, it'd be just called like purchase or preorder Nintendo Switch2.com or something like that. And then you would have to type in a code that came with the email to get you into the website. And then when you type in your code, it's like, welcome, Logan. Would you like to buy a Nintendo Switch 2 today? Would you like to attach Mario Kart World today? How about a Pro Controller or a case to keep your Nintendo Switch safe when you're on the go? A really chill environment. I don't know. That's my idea. Call me crazy if you want, but there's got to be a better, smoother, easier way for us to do this. So anyway, but overall, that's my thoughts on pre-ordering in Japan and my Nintendo Switch 1 experience, as well as the one I just had with the Nintendo Switch 2, and my idea for the future. Hopefully we can kind of get this ironed out. It would be sad to think that 100 years from now, people are still fighting each other on the internet trying to get a spot. I understand that this is always a new experience for everybody, but I do think we're getting better. I'm going to be honest with you. I do think it's getting better. I remember the Amiibo craze back in 2016? Yeah, that was crazy too. So I think we're getting a little bit better. Give it maybe another 5-10 years and it'll be all good. Because if you think about it, the websites really don't get a chance to practice this all the time. This doesn't happen all the time. So whenever this happens, I'm sure they just take a lot of data and then they filter that data down. They go, okay, look at this. Okay, look at that. Okay, what if we did this next time? Sure. In 7 years, when the next big thing happens, we'll do that and we'll see if that works. Like, okay, this kind of worked, but that didn't work. It's just like trial and error. I mean, if an event like this was happening every 6 months, I'm sure it'd be ironed out right now. But it's not. We don't get a Nintendo console all the time. And we don't get a new console all the time anyway. So it's a special event. But for you all listening, I hope you got your pre-orders. If not, I hope you get yours at or around the launch day season. Take care of yourselves out there. And good luck and happy hunting.